Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on Writing Data Pipelines with Kedro. This is Data Engineer One, trying to help you guys write better data pipeliners. I'm sorry, write better data pipelines. You guys are the pipeliners, and we're writing data pipelines. Okay, this video is about Kedro hooks. So we're going to take a look at a few of the new Kedro hooks today. But the first question is, what the heck is a hook? Well, a hook is usually a piece of code or like some functionality within like a framework that allows you to inject your own code into that framework. So I think like WordPress, for example, has their own hook. Kedro clearly has its own hook, and this is a construct that usually you see in plugins. So in order to write your own plugins, you want to be able to hook into the current functionality of a system and then inject your own code and own functionality. And so Kedro, with the 0.16.0 release, also released hooks with that. And so we're going to take a look at two of the hooks today and how we can use them potentially. So in our implementation, we're going to be doing something basic. It's only a HTTP request hook library. So what's going to happen is when a node is going to run in our system, we're going to make it such that we can detect that change in the system or that node run because it's going to send an HTTP request to another server. So I'll be showing you guys what that looks like today. Okay, I hope you guys are excited. I'm so excited. I freaking think that this is such a cool piece of functionality that Kedro released, and there's a lot of cool things that you could do with it. But we'll just keep it simple today. Okay, so I have here a PyCharm instance. This is basically our PyCharm intro from the last video, setting up Kedro with PyCharm. And again, the framework here is just, I'm sorry, the pipeline here is just the example pipeline that comes with the system. Below me, you can see that I have the introduction to Kedro hooks documentation open up for us. We're just going to go ahead and scroll through this guy really quick. And so the hook specifications that are allowed are these 7 here. So we have the ability to hook into the code after a catalog is created, before and after a node runs, on node error, and then before and after a pipeline runs, as well as on pipeline error. They have this little naming convention. I think this is really cool. We have this before, after, and then the noun, and then the past participle of the action. So run or error. But I guess error is not really an action. Huh? Well, I guess it is sometimes. Anyway, so let's go ahead and take a look at how we can implement. But the one that we really want to use is hook impl. Okay, so we can do this either using a module or we can use this. You do this using a class. And so today we're just going to make a very simple hook class. So we're going to create a new Python file, and it's just going to be hook.py. So we'll just keep it very, very simple. And again, our hook that we're going to be creating is we're going to be creating a hook that will create an HTTP request to a web server. And so I have a very simple web server. You can see right below. This is webhook.site. And so this is a really powerful website that I really like to use for testing out APIs and things. So you have this unique URL, and you take this URL and you can create requests to that URL, and they show up here on this website. You don't have to write your own server or anything. So for example, I can open up a terminal here, and I can do a curl to this server like this. And so the curl by default will send as a GET request. And so we can do curl, and it should pop up below us right now. Oh, well, actually, I guess it's not popping up. So let's go ahead and reload this site. These things happen sometimes. And here we are. We can see our GET request that we received. I think these are previous attempts that I was doing, but basically we have this. So let's go ahead and do that one more time so you can just see it happening in real time. So I do the curl, and then voila, the new curl comes out. We can also do stuff like changing the actual request method. So we can change it to post, and we can even add in data. So we can have data that says hello world like that, and that'll be parsed as form data by default. So you can click on here, and then we can see our post request as well as our hello world, and then it even comes with raw content. So we're going to be using this website today in order to try it out. So the hooks that we're going to be creating is very simple. We're going to just call it a web API calling hook. That's it. And then the two decorators that we want, the first, of course, is our hook impl. which comes directly from Kedro framework.hooks.hook impulse. So we can import that, and then we're going to define the function, and we have to match the name of the function there. So there is one that was after node run, which comes with a bunch of parameters, which we can take from here, as well as the before node run, def before node run. So two things that I want to note here. The first is that by default, PyCharm will create a self inside of here. But in truth, we don't actually want a self. We want to use the parameters that are specified by the documentation. So if we actually take a look at the hooks documentation, we're going to go into the node hooks here. And you can see, for example, for after node run, we have these parameters here. And so these parameters are the ones that we're going to want to specify in order to run the function. So we're going to put this here like that. And then for the before node run, we have these parameters here, catalog, input, insync, etc. So let's go ahead and put these in. And you'll see here that the PyCharm actually doesn't like this. It says, hey, wait a second, your first parameter should be named self. Obviously, we're not. So what you can do to get around that is actually just force this to be a static method. And so PyCharm takes no offense to that. You can go ahead and use that as a static method. Okay, so in order to call our API, what we're going to use is we're going to use the very, very ubiquitous requests library. So we're going to import this from PyCharm. I just hit Alt-Enter to do that import. And then we can just use either a get or a post. In our case, we're going to use a post request. And the URL, we're just going to copy here and then put it onto the class as an attribute itself. So we can say URL is equal to this URL like that. So then we're going to call that URL like this. And then we're going to pass in the data. And let's go ahead and pass in some JSON data. So this way we can automatically parameterize our data in a JSON form. So the data that we're going to want to send is we want to send first the hook type. So what hook is this? This is going to be the after node run hook. And then the node that we are passing in or that we're running, we're going to pass in as node name. Something here that you can do in PyCharm, just a quick note, is that if you put in the node type here, where you can import that type from kedro.pipeline.node, you can actually use that to enable type hinting. So I can do node.name, and you can see that the property value is available there. And then we also want to do that again for our before node right here. So we can do that, hook after, and then one for before. So now here's something that's interesting. Sometimes these requests fail. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the request actually does succeed. So we're going to put a while loop in here. So the while loop is going to say like was successful call equals false. And then so the while loop says while not was successful call, we're going to do the call. And then we're going to make sure that the status code that is returned by the requests is equal to 200. And so this is how we can determine if it was a successful call or not. I misspelled while, and that's okay. We're going to copy that down here, and then as well as copy this guy as well. And then we're going to just go ahead and re-indent those. So as soon as the call is successful, it's going to return. All right, so that's it. That was all that we needed to do to create our hook. Now let's go ahead and hook it in. All right, so we can go and do that inside of the run.py. And then I've already actually done something here, but basically you just type in hooks is equal to the tuple, and then you want to push in the instance of the API that you want to hook. So we have not web API hook, but we actually have web calling API hook. Web calling API hook. We're going to import that from our hook, and then we're going to use the instance of it. I think in this case, instance versus class, it actually doesn't matter, but we're just going to go ahead and follow what the documentation says here. And the documentation asks for a instance of the class. Yeah, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and give that guy a try. So we're going to open up our webhook test site here, and we're going to click run. And so right now the settings on this guy are such that it's only going to run the DE pipeline in the example pipeline. And so that only runs the split data node. So we're going to go ahead and run the split data node here, and we should see two post requests show up inside of our website. That's before the split data node runs, and then that's after the split data node runs. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. And we should see, oops, oh, it looks like we actually ran into an error here. So self.hooks web calling hook object is not iterable. Web calling hooks object is not iterable. And that's because, why is this not iterable? Well, we actually, you know why it's not iterable? It's because, and this is a little bit of syntactic sugar with Python, we didn't actually specify an iterable object. This is not a tuple, but if we put a comma in here, it does become a tuple. This got you, like, has bitten me many times before in the past, and it may bite you guys in the future. So I'm glad that it showed up here so that we can address it straightforward. And as you can see right below, we have our two web requests. Let's take a look at the first one and look at that before node run. This is the node, and there's the node name. This is exactly what it is, as well as the after. So after node run, and it also worked too. Fantastic. So it looks like our hook worked. This is a very simple implementation. I'm really excited to see maybe what you guys can do with this hook stuff, but it's so exciting. I'm very happy to play with this. And if this content has got you hooked, then go ahead and button that like, sub that subscribe, and ring that ding if you want to know when we are pipelining. And you guys, good luck out there with your data pipelines. I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.